Welcome back to my channel. Have you ever heard of the term attachment? Maybe attachment style? Have you ever wondered, what does that mean? How do I apply that to my life? How do I apply that to my romantic relationship? Or maybe you've wondered, what's my attachment style and what does that mean? In this video, we're going to dig into this information a little bit more. We're going to dig into the history of attachment style, how we came to discover these different attachment styles, how they apply in our lives, how they apply in our romantic relationships, and we might even get an understanding of our own attachment styles. My name is Raquel Perez, and I am a licensed professional counselor candidate in the state of Colorado. So let's go ahead and get started. Before we begin, I want to introduce this book. I think that this book has great information when it comes to attachment styles, and how they apply to romantic relationships. It's called Attached, and it's written by Amir Levine. Much of the information that I'm going to go over today comes from this book. Again, highly recommend this book, Attached, by Amir Levine. So I think that it's helpful to begin with a little bit of history of how we discovered attachment and attachment styles. And it begins with a gentleman by the name of John Bowlby. Now, John Bowlby was a psychologist in the mid to late 1900s. John Bowlby took research that from his own observations that he compiled, and proposed that human evolution had led us to select certain individuals throughout our lives that would become precious to us. Individuals such as our children, our parents, and our partners. And again, this was something that happened over the course of our lives from birth till death. This actually allowed us for greater survival and greater safety during prehistoric times. This need for attachment was so great that our brains developed an attachment system. An attachment system is a combination of emotions and behaviors that ensure that we will develop close connections, close bonds with those individuals that we deem precious to us in our lives. Now, a very important idea in human evolution is this term heterogeneity. Now, heterogeneity is defined as the quality or state of being diverse in content or character. Now, if we take this same term of heterogeneity and we apply it to attachment styles, it makes sense that we would fare better as humans, as a species, if there's diversity in our attachment styles, so that we're not all the same in the way that we develop this bond, we develop this closeness. And that's why there are different types of attachment styles. Now, we have 4 different attachment styles, and it is believed that all of us will identify with one of these 4 attachment styles. Now, these attachment styles are anxious, avoidant, secure, and mixed. Now let's dig into these a little bit deeper and break them each apart so that we have a better understanding of what each one of these styles mean. So if we take the first attachment style of anxious and we think back to those prehistoric times, it makes sense that if we were in an environment that was harsh, that was very unkind and unfriendly, we would ensure that those connections to our precious loved ones were tight. We would ensure that that connection was as close as possible because of the environment being as harsh as it is. And that's where we developed anxious attachment styles. So for those who identify with an anxious attachment style, they have a very sensitive attachment system. It will become activated with any hint that there is distance created between them and the people who they find precious in their lives. So, how does this apply in romantic relationships? They tend to become very preoccupied in their romantic relationships to ensure that the connection remains strong. Again, any hint that the connection is not there, that there is some distance, they will cling to reestablish that connection. Now, in order to reestablish this connection, they will often engage in what is known as protest behavior. Now, protest behavior is any behavior that jolts your partner into noticing you, that shakes your partner into noticing you. However, many times, protest behavior that we engage in can become harmful to our romantic relationships. Examples of some of these protest behaviors can be excessive calling, excessive texting or emailing, maybe becoming hostile to your partner, maybe threatening to leave your partner, or maybe even withdrawing from your partner, ignoring your partner. Again, we're using these behaviors to jolt our partner into noticing us again and reestablishing that connection. Now, if anything that I've just mentioned when it comes to this anxious attachment style resonates with you or sounds familiar to you, congratulations, you are completely normal. Not only are you normal, according to Amir Levine in his book Attached, you identify with approximately 20% of the population. So there is a huge percentage of the population that also resonates with this exact same information when it comes to an anxious attachment style. So let's look at the second attachment style of avoidant. If we look back to those prehistoric times, let's say that there was a time in our history where the conditions became very dangerous. In dangerous conditions, it might be a little bit more beneficial to have some distance from those that we consider precious to us, because maybe they wouldn't survive those dangerous conditions. So it might be easier for our systems to be able to move on more quickly and not establish such a close connection with these individuals whom we deem important or precious to us. And that's where we get an avoidant attachment style. And so, how does this apply in romantic relationships? Well, if my partner is seeking closeness from me, but my body is registering that as uncomfortable because I identify with an avoidant attachment style, then I might begin to create distance between my partner and I because of that avoidant attachment style. And so the way that I will begin to create that distance between my partner and I is by using deactivating strategies. And these deactivating strategies are in place to deactivate my attachment system, to calm down that attachment system. And so again, to do that, I will begin to use these deactivating strategies. And so many of these deactivating strategies can look like not saying I love you, pulling away from a partner when things are going well, maybe flirting with others, which causes hurt or insecurity in the relationship, maybe even starting a relationship where the future is really impossible. For example, starting a relationship with someone who is married. And in these ways, again, my body is trying to calm my attachment system by using these deactivating strategies. Now, if any of this section resonates with you of the avoidant attachment system, congratulations, you also are normal. Not only are you normal, according to Amir Levine in his book Attached, you identify with 25% of the population. So there's a large percentage of people, 25%, who identify with an avoidant attachment style. Now for the third attachment style, the secure attachment style. Now, if we think back again, one more time to those prehistoric times, if there were times of peace, it makes sense that that very intimate bond that we would create with those precious loved ones in our lives would be greatly beneficial and useful both to the individual and to their offspring. And so during these times of peace, this is the attachment style that we would see most prevalent, and that is the secure attachment style. Now, when it comes to people who identify with the secure attachment style, they tend to be very mentally flexible. They're not very concerned with boundaries. They feel a great sense of power to improve their romantic relationships. They feel some felt sense of responsibility for their romantic partners. Now, if any of this resonates with you, then you are part of about half of the population. Again, according to Amir Levine in his book Attached, about 50% of the population identify with the secure attachment style. Now, for the very last attachment style of the mixed attachment style, that is a mixture of the first two attachment styles. So a mixture of the anxious and the avoidant attachment styles. Now, this attachment style is far fewer or far rarer than the other attachment styles at about only 5% of the population. And now if you're thinking, now, this isn't too many people. 5% doesn't sound like a lot to me. Let's put that into context. So, in the United States takes up about 4.23% of the population, which means if you identify with a mixed attachment style, you are identifying with the same attachment style as more than the entire population of the United States. That's a lot of people. So, all in all, we all have attachment systems at play, and we all have attachment styles that we identify with. And no matter where you fall in the category of all these different attachment styles, you are normal, you identify with a large section of the population, and the more that we understand about ourselves, the more that we understand about how we show up in the world, the more that we understand about how we show up in our romantic relationships, the more power that we have to navigate this world and its circumstances. If you are a little bit more curious about identifying your own attachment style, check out the free downloadable PDF that I have placed down in the description below. Again, it's a little exercise, if you will, to help you identify your own attachment style. So I'd encourage you to check that out if you're still curious about this. Well, friends, thank you so much for taking time out of your crazy busy schedule, your crazy busy day to watch this video. I really appreciate you taking time to spend with me today to watch this video. If you have found some use out of it, some benefit out of it, please hit that subscribe and that like button down below, and I hope to see you next time. Don't forget, new content is posted every Friday, and don't miss out. I hope to see you next time. Bye for now. Now, before we begin, I think that it's